Last week, a few longtime viewers were a little upset that I never even mentioned Shrek after this happened.
A mighty good time awaits in the Shrek Special Pack paid DLC for Power Wash Simulator.
Look, I don't take the easy bait. I write sophisticated material. If you can't appreciate that, maybe go to shrek.com/Shrek. All right, in the meantime, I'm going to say with confidence, I'm never referencing Shrek ever again. And you can quote me on that. It was the best of games. It was the worst of games. Astrobot was released this week to stellar reviews, climbing to the top of OpenCritic immediately, suddenly the apparent frontrunner for Game of the Year. Meanwhile, Concord, that game I make fun of sometimes, is gone. It's just gone now. All right, let me let you in on a little secret. The actual title for this week's video is Concord Was a Stupid Mistake. But I thought that would look too toxic on YouTube. If you're scrolling by and seeing that sentence, it's just going to make everyone's day worse. So the underlying theme beneath this entire video is the question, when is it okay to be harsh about a video game? Concord was released on August 23rd. After 11 days of people playing this video game, Firewalk Studios makes a post announcing that the game will be shut down in 3 days, which is today. The day this video is being posted, Concord no longer exists. Here's how they explained it. While many qualities of the experience resonated with players, we also recognize that other aspects of the game and our initial launch didn't land the way we'd intended. It's not even fair to ask, but I am curious which parts they thought would land. Therefore, at this time, we have decided to take the game offline beginning September 6th, 2024, and explore options, including those that will better reach our players. So that paragraph doesn't sound too bad. They said initial launch, as though there might be a second launch. They said they're just trying to reach more players, so obviously we're all thinking it's just going to be free to play. They're going to have a bounce back next year. We're looking at the multiverses of 2025, right? The next paragraph, things get scary. While we determine the best path ahead, Concord sales will cease immediately, and we will begin to offer a full refund for all gamers who have purchased the game for PS5 or PC. It's a pretty hefty boo-boo. It's reminiscent of when Sony pulled Cyberpunk from its online stores because it was too buggy. It's reminiscent of when Hyenas was canceled before it came out. But this is pretty enormous on the overall disaster scale. They took it out of stores. You could go to Walmart and get a refund for Concord. By the way, I love that it's all gamers who are getting the refund and not just, the word anyone. It's specifically gamers, which means their heart is in the right place. You're asking how bad could it really have been, though? IGN reported last week that Concord is estimated to have sold only 25,000 units. They were citing analyst Simon Carless for that specific number. And obviously analysts are always guessing, but even if it was 2 times or 3 times or 4 times that number, that's abysmal. Simple math is that Firewalk Studios has too many employees to be working on a game with that small of a player base. There's weird old MMOs like DC Universe Online that can keep chugging along. Because, look at them. They're scaling the content to the size of their player base. They're not doing anything fancy here. But what I think is cool about games like that is they figured out the math. They know the right amount of staff to make the right amount of content, to make the right amount of money, to keep a game alive. With Concord, I can't work it out. It's actually too AAA. There's no free-to-play version of this game that could acquire a large enough audience to justify the work that they're putting into it. So one funny idea Concord had to create new characters without creating new characters was called variants.
The most exciting thing we can do in a character-based shooter is have more characters. launch a new character. And we're gonna be doing that on a regular cadence. That takes a lot of work and a lot of time to get those just right. And that's where the idea of variants came in.
You'd unlock a slightly different color of a character that would have a slightly different specialty. The example they gave is there'd be a version of Teo who had one more grenade.
It seems like a small thing, but those little changes really change up how the game plays.
So really, even before this game had begun to fail, they were already coming up with solutions to overcome how unsustainable their business plan actually was. So I only bring all of that up in response to their messaging that they're going to bunker down. They're going to try to figure this out. They're going to do the math. They're going to come back up and they're going to let us all know what they've come up with. I think there is little reason to believe that they're going to come back out of the bunker with a successful version of Concord. And it's okay to have hope. It's fine to have hope. That's nice. But I think realistically, that game's gone. Now, at this point, I don't really find it necessary to discuss why Concord failed. Firstly, most of the things I would have brought up, I already did the week it was unveiled. It is actually hard for me to imagine where Sony's confidence comes from. What do they see? Why do they continue to invest in this game, in this IP that is so apparently devoid of charisma? But secondly, I trust you. You can look at this game for 20 seconds and you could probably surmise why it isn't popular.
We should probably accept that offer before they realize we're a bunch of crazy misfits and they change their minds.
Sometimes it's just a vibe. Sometimes it's just something universally understood. So then I also think that we all understand that the actual why, the why behind the why, is that there was an oaf in charge. You see, there's an oaf in charge of every company, it feels like. The difference is sometimes some oafs know when to hire people who make good creative decisions, and then sometimes some oafs in charge who have no real taste still make the decisions themselves. Time out. Wait, am I becoming too harsh? Am I becoming toxic here? The answer is yes. And clearly I'm referring to the man in that picture. I do pin a lot of this on him. I'm talking, of course, about Jim Ryan, the former president of Sony Interactive Entertainment. I was looking at the press release when they acquired Firewalk last year. So imagine that. They're seeing a fairly complete version of Concord. Jim Ryan says, "I'm confident the studio's upcoming project will be a robust addition to PlayStation Studios' portfolio, and its live service and technology expertise will be instrumental in helping grow PlayStation's reach." Jim Ryan is no longer with Sony. He's doing something else now, but it's still frustrating. It's like this. Imagine there's this oaf who comes to a town and says, "I think I'm going to set up a mine. I'm going to hire people to go into this mine and mine peanut butter out of the mountains for me." He's hiring peanut butter miners. And most people think, hold on a moment. You can't, there's not going to be any peanut butter in there. And this oaf says, "I'm confident I'm going to find some peanut butter in those mines." And then there's no fucking peanut butter in the mines. And then the peanut butter miners get laid off. And I ask you, who should I get frustrated with in this scenario? Should we all just shrug our shoulders and say that's the peanut butter business? Look at this slide from Sony's business segment meeting earlier this year. Exciting new releases. Now, its actual purpose is to illustrate the difference between titles that will launch on PS5, get PC ports later, and those that will have simultaneous releases. But I mean, look at this thing. This was from May of this year, and already that right half looks dour. MLB The Show keeps trucking, but otherwise dour. Those two games on the left are looking kind of nice. And also, you might be asking, how come Astrobot is not there? That's an exciting new release. I would say to you, you're a rube if you think investors care about Astrobot. But you will find Astrobot in the emerging IP portion of the world-class franchises graph, resting neatly between Concord and Uncharted. Hope this helps. So again, Sony's doing great. PlayStation's doing great. But those plans from May look outright delusional. So where I'm landing tonight is that sometimes I believe being harsh is being kind. And that I'm sure there were a lot of people throughout the development of Concord who looked at that game and they said, "Looks good. Yeah, it's going to be a hit." When that was actually an unkind thing to do in the end. And if I may continue to be kind to the oafs in charge of Fair Games. Look, I want what's best for your team. I say this with absolute empathy. At this point in time right now, I would rather hose down the literal shit particles of Shrek's untreated wooden toilet than play Fair Games. That's just where we stand right now. I hope you're able to find a way to make that game appealing. I just wanted to let you know, at this moment, I'll take the Shrek shit. And that's Delayed Input. I'll be back next week. Thanks for watching. Hi, welcome to After the Credits, where I would like to keep talking about Fair Games. So back when Fair Games was initially revealed with this underwhelming CG teaser, I remember explicitly warning them, if they don't come up with something else, the monkey masks would take over the entire game's imagery. Because the marketing team, and I kind of understand this element, they're searching for something. They're scanning the entire trailer for the visual, the standout character. What do we put on the posters? What do we put on the box? And all you're giving them is the monkeys. That's why in Sony's stupid chart here, yeah, it's the monkey. What I'm saying is, if you are not careful, Fair Games is about to become the monkey heist game. I was watching this presentation from a year ago from the Sony Creators Conference titled Next Gen Development for Games. Haven, the developers of Fair Games, was there to present 3D asset creation with generative ML, machine learning. Look at this slide introducing Fair Games. These are your monkeys, everybody. So the presenter is talking about how the team at Haven are experimenting with machine learning to create in-game assets, 3D models from text. What a technology. Now here's what I'm willing to admit. Saying the phrases AI and machine learning, making the whole presentation about it, is a good way to get oafs to write you a check. Remember, they have no taste, right? They can't differentiate good character design from bad, but they can understand something that might save time and money. So if you're just trying to keep your studio alive, if you're just trying to stay funded, it kind of makes sense to prop up these things that oafs in charge love to hear. Here's my problem. Not the masks. Anything but the masks. If you're making a heist game where you customize your character, the masks are going to be the most important thing. The presenter even acknowledges that.
Personalization and customization are a big thing. So when we were working on doing, or as we currently do, machine learning R&D, and we were thinking about how that can help with personalization, masks, like you see on this monkey crew here, seem like a good target to do exploration.
However, he then immediately shows this rainbow skull mask and this gorilla mask as if they've accomplished something good here. They show their whole ugly process. I think this is impressive to people in the know, but it all looks clearly gross. This one's supposed to be a George Washington mask. He shows some unfinished designs that he thinks look cool, and I would never want to ever be a video game character wearing that. I'm not saying throw your work away, though. I know you worked really hard on this. Maybe there's like a faction within the game called the Dipshits, and they exclusively wear these 3D printed AI masks. And they're like, we're the Dipshits! That could work.